I'd like to call the August 19th, 2026 meeting of the City of Avondale Planning Commission to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Lopez Davy,
Present.
Commissioner Guzman,
Present.
Vice Chair Grimm,
Present.
Chair McBurney,
Present.
Commissioner Ortega, Jewell, and Pineda all have an excused absence for tonight.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the last meeting's minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the April 15th, 2026 meeting? And does anyone have any corrections? Seeing that there are no corrections, may I have a motion? I have a motion from Vice Chair Grimm and a second from Commissioner Guzman. Let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the minutes. And the minutes have passed 4 votes to none. All right, we'll move on to the public hearing items. I'd like to get a report from the staff on item 4A, City of Avondale Municipal Operations Warehouse.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Items 4A and 4B are the minor general plan amendment and rezone for the municipal operations for the City of Avondale Municipal Operations Warehouse. These are applications PL 250263 and PL 250264. Purpose of tonight's items are to review the proposed minor general plan amendment and rezone for the municipal operations warehouse and the city-owned property, and forward a recommendation on each item to City Council. The subject property is located at the northeast corner of Lower Buckeye Road and 4th Street, located just west of the Agua Fria River. South of the Mountain View Community Center is approximately 9.03 acres and annexed in 1958. It's just north of the existing Municipal Operations Service Center and Festival Fields Park. Here are a couple subject photos looking south along 4th Street and then looking east along Lower Buckeye Road towards the river. And then this is looking south along across Lower Buckeye Road and then looking north into the site from Lower Buckeye into the existing construction staging area. The general plan amendment request is to amend the general plan land use designation from industrial to public civic. The industrial land use category is intended to provide for employment opportunities of heavy manufacturing within enclosed or partially enclosed structures. And the public civic land use category provides for a variety of civic, public, and quasi-public facilities for health, safety, and welfare of Avondale's residents. The types of uses found in this category typically include government facilities, city government facilities, police and fire stations, community centers, and other municipal operations functions, as well as libraries and water and wastewater treatment facilities. The rezone request is to rezone the property from R16 to City of Avondale Municipal Operations Warehouse Planned Area Development, or PAD. The underlying zoning for that district will be Commerce Park, or CP zoning. As part of the request, the applicant is proposing some deviations and different standards. These include reducing the required building setback from residential zoning from 50 feet to 45 feet and reducing the land use buffer requirement from 35 feet to 10 feet on the northern property line. This also includes removing parking lot landscape requirements from the outdoor storage areas. And just to give you an idea, the red hashed areas are the landscape buffer. These are required next to residentially zoned properties or those used for residential zoning. And then the green hashed areas are the normal landscape setback requirements from adjacent right-of-way. So you can see the reduction going from this property line to the northern property line. And that'll be landscaped in accordance with the city's normal landscaping requirements. Staff's analysis of the minor general plan amendment requires that the applicant meet 4 findings. And staff finds that the amendment will facilitate the limited public uses allowed within the associated planned area development, and that the amendment improves the general plan by expanding the existing public civic land use in order to provide a needed city operations building for traffic-related services. Furthermore, the amendment does not significantly alter acceptable land use patterns, but rather advances the general plan's land use goal related to adequate land transitions and expands the city's capacity to provide needed support services to city operations. The amendment also improves the general plan by expanding the public civic land use in order to provide a needed city operations building for traffic-related services. In terms of the PAD rezone, the rezone meets the 5 required findings established by the zoning ordinance for planned area developments. It's in conformance with the proposed general plan land use designation of public civic, and it's in conformance with the PAD requirements as well as the zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, design manuals, and other regulations as modified in the PAD narrative. Also, adequate public infrastructure exists or will be constructed by the applicant as part of the overall improvements and the final build out. Finally, the recommended conditions of approval are reasonable to ensure conformance with all applicable policy documents, and the deviations provide compatibility with existing and planned development, and the project is otherwise consistent with the Commerce Park District. As part of the public participation process, a neighborhood meeting was held on June 30th of this year. There were 2 attendees aside from the applicant's team and city staff. There were questions asked about what the property would be utilized for and what the visual impacts to the adjacent neighborhood would be, as well as the expected traffic. The applicant responded that the property would be utilized solely by city operations staff and would have normal business hours with limited traffic, unless there was an emergency situation and traffic operations staff had to respond to that. And with that, staff is recommending for item 4A, approval of application PL 250263, a request for a minor amendment to the general plan 2030 land use map, changing the land use designation from industrial to public civic. And staff is also recommending approval of item 4B. That's application PL 250264, a request to rezone approximately 9.03 acres from urban residential to planned area development located at the northeast corner of Lower Buckeye Road and 4th Street, subject to the 2 conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for the staff?
I did, Alex, thanks. I just had a quick question. There's a reduction in the setback from 35 feet or from 35 feet to 10 feet. It appears from the report that it's due to site constraints with geotechnical foundations and other things, and the building had to move. I was just wondering if any alternate layouts were considered in order to maintain that, because it appears that you still have that space, but there's covered equipment, other things that are up there. So I was just curious if any alternate layouts were looked at for that.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Graham, so the building setback isn't changing by much. It's going from 50 feet to 45 feet. I believe you're referring to the land use buffer requirement. So there were a couple considerations with that. I can let our CIP administrator speak to the specific layout considerations there. However, from a zoning perspective, the land use buffer going from 35 to 10 feet was mostly due to the differences between a traditional industrial development and the expected impacts from this development. As far as any specific site-related issues, want to defer more to our administrator, who was part of the development process for coming up with the final design. But I can say from a zoning perspective, it was due to the differences in impact expected from a city operation versus a general industrial.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, I have a couple. In the public meeting, I noticed that there was some commentary on lighting. I assume there'll be some sort of mitigation as far as lighting the area for like security and what have you for the residential area that's next door.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. So the property will be required to comply with the zoning ordinance with regard to outdoor lighting. So that includes not exceeding 1 foot candle at the property line. There'll also be a screen wall there, and the lighting on site will be required to be angled down and is limited in terms of wattage. I can get you the specifics, but it can't exceed 1 foot candle at the property line.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Do we have the applicant? Any questions, or does the applicant wish to make? Is it all the city of Avondale?
Correct.
Okay.
The applicant is City of Avondale.
Just
but
wanted to make
city
sure.
staff available.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. I would now like to open the public hearing for this item. Do we have anyone requesting to speak tonight?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any requests to speak, but if there is anyone out in the audience who would like to speak, you may proceed to the podium.
All right. Seeing that we have no one wishing to speak on this matter, I will now close this public hearing on the item. Do we have any further questions before we move for a vote? All right. We have two items to look at. I need a motion on the first item, item 4A. I have a motion from Commissioner Davey, and Commissioner Guzman has seconded the motion. Let's go ahead and vote on approval of item 4A. And we have approved item 4A by 4 votes to 0. That's the minor general plan amendment application PL 250263. Let's now move on to item 4B. I need a motion for application PL 250264. I have a motion from Commissioner Guzman and a second from Commissioner Davey. Let's vote on item 4B. And we have 4 votes to 0 for approval of the rezone application PL 250264. All right, staff. May I please have a report for item 4C, the Central Avenue rezone application PL 250015.
Vice Chair and Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is item 4C, Central Avenue rezone. This is application PL 250015. The purpose of this item is to review the proposed rezone for 2 parcels along North Central Avenue to facilitate the development of 2 single-family dwelling units, to conduct a public hearing on this item and forward a recommendation on the item to City Council. To begin with some background on the subject property, in total, the 2 parcels are approximately 0.45 net acres. They are located at 325 and 335 North Central Avenue. The southern parcel was annexed into the city in December of 1946, and the northern parcel was annexed into the city in April of 1959. Both properties are part of the Wyman subdivision. The southern parcel had a single-family dwelling unit on the property until 2001, and then it was removed. It has remained vacant since then. The northern parcel has been vacant since its annexation.
To the north, south, and east of the property are detached single-family residential dwelling units, and to the west across Central Avenue is the Rio Salado College and commercial retail uses within that central plaza. The general plan land use designation is medium density residential. This allows for 2.5 to 4 dwelling acres per unit. This land use category provides for a suburban lifestyle with planned detached single-family residential communities with larger setbacks and neighborhood facilities. The surrounding land uses include medium density residential in that orangish yellow color. This is again to the north, south, and east of the subject properties. Local commercial is in that pink. This is across North Central Avenue with the Rio Salado College and that commercial plaza. And then north of East Ludlow Drive, you see that sort of brownish color. That is high density residential. For the rezone request, it is to take the zoned C2 community commercial and split zoned R16 urban residential and rezone those to R16 urban residential. With the properties here, the northern property is fully zoned C2 community commercial at this time, where the southern parcel is split zoned with predominantly R16 urban residential, but this northeast or northwest corner is currently C2 community commercial. The surrounding zonings of the property include R16 urban residential to the north, south, and east of the property, and then C2 community commercial to the west of the property. The following are site photos of the existing conditions of the property. This first image is looking north from Central Avenue. You'll see both vacant parcels here, and then to the north of them is a single-family dwelling unit. And then across the street, you'll see a little bit of that Rio Salado College in that C2 zoning there. The next image is looking south from Central Avenue. Again, you are seeing both vacant parcels here with a single-family dwelling unit to the south of them, and then across the street is the Central Plaza commercial use. For the analysis of the rezone, the vacant lots are served by existing streets and nearby public facilities, so it's supported by the appropriate infill development of vacant lots, and it's suitable for residential developments that reinvest in an established neighborhood. It is compatible with the surrounding residential pattern to the north, south, and east of the properties. This will resolve the split zoning of that southern parcel, allowing for the property to be developed under one consistent residential zoning. It is also consistent with the Avondale General Plan 2030 designation of medium density residential. The rezone will bring it from that commercial use, which is not compatible with that medium density residential, into being compatible with it. And then finally, it supports the specific area plan for Old Town, Cashin, Las Ligas, and Rio Vista through the development of infill lots. For the public participation and noticing, a neighborhood meeting was held on June 29th of 2026. The mayor was the only attendee present aside from the applicant's team and city staff. Discussion topics included discussion of the purpose of the rezone, going over the split zoning and the commercial zoning and how it's not necessarily compatible with the directly adjacent uses and how the R16 zoning would better fit those subject parcels. The applicant also showed existing single-family home developments that they have done in the Avondale community as an example of what the single-family homes they would be bringing to those lots. To date, staff has not received any public comments on the city's Avondale Connect digital platform. For the recommendation, staff recommends a motion to recommend approval of application PL 250015, subject to the 2 conditions of approval as set forth in the staff report. That concludes this presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have a question for the staff? All right, seeing that we have none, does the applicant wish to make a brief statement for the commission? They're good? All right, I would like to now open the public hearing for this item. Do we have any requests to speak?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any requests to speak, but if there is anyone out in the audience who would like to speak, you may proceed to the podium.
All right, seeing that we have no one wishing to speak, I will now close the public hearing for this item. Are there any further questions from any of the commissioners? No? I will now entertain a motion for item 4C, application PL 250015. And motions went by faster than I could see them. So I have a motion from Commissioner Guzman and a second from Commissioner Davy. I apologize, Commissioner Guzman and Commissioner Davy. And let's move forward and vote on the motion. Please use your touchpads. And we have passed the motion 4 votes to 0 for item 4C, the Central Avenue rezone, application PL 250015. That concludes our public hearing items for tonight. I would now like to move on to commission announcements. Do any of the commissioners have anything they would like to pass along or announce? Seeing that we have none, I will now move on to item 6, our Planning Division report. Does the Deputy Director of Planning have any items for the commission?
Right now. I also wanted to share with you that in September, there is a new state law that's going to go into effect that relates to public hearings. It requires that if somebody wants to request to speak or provide written comments on a zoning matter, that they need to disclose whether they've received compensation to speak or to provide those written comments. So the request to speak forms are going to be updated so that they can check a box and disclose, this new requirement. And then we'll also put together something, Mr. Chair, for your script that helps you if we had somebody who maybe hadn't filled out the form, that we can pose the question of whether asking them to disclose. So that's all I have for you this evening. And thank you so much.
I appreciate all of that. I look forward to the new script. Moving on to item 7 on our agenda, calendar. Our next scheduled meeting is September 16th, 2026. So make sure we all mark that on our calendars. And then prior to adjournment, one more round. Anybody else have anything to say? Nope. Then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. I have a motion from Commissioner Davy, a second from Vice Chair Grimm. Let's vote on the motion to adjourn. And adjournment passes 4 votes to 0. I thank you all. We are now adjourned.